It will be the past, and we'll live there together, not as it was to live, but as it is remembered. It will be the past, we'll all go back together, everyone we ever loved and lost and must remember. It will be the past, and it will last forever. Today, on All Saints' Sunday, we remember the people who have gone before us. We sit in community and call out their names. We give thanks for their souls. For some of us, though, the thanks be to God that passes through our lips will only be a whisper, or lips moved but words not spoken. We have been deeply affected by death, by the surprise, the grief, the confusion, the denial, and we seek to transition into acceptance and finally remembering. We've lost people who helped light our paths only to merge eventually with the great light themselves. Last Sunday was the 17th anniversary of my friend Kyle's death. He was my pastor, and he was 33 when he unexpectedly died in preparation for baptism. He was electrocuted when he got into the pool to baptize a college kid. He died in front of 800 parishioners, his wife, his parents, and his friends. I have felt the surprise, the grief, the confusion, the denial, the acceptance, and the remembering of loss. While this was the most shocking death I've experienced to this day, it is not the first, not the only, and it will not be the last. I once performed in a Stephen Sondheim musical about the men and women who attempted, some of them successfully, to take the lives of U.S. presidents. It's a musical, honest to God. Titled Assassins, the strange musical weaves through the infamous lives of 9 assassins. Every song is from the viewpoint of an assassin, every song except one. In the next to last number, all the leads leave the stage and the ensemble walks out one at a time to take their place on an empty, quiet stage. And I, too, in this performance came out, a nondescript housewife, and in the dim light I sang, I was out in the yard, taking down the bed sheets, when my neighbor yelled across, the president's been shot. I remember where I was, just exactly where I was, in the yard out back, folding sheets. And I thought, something just broke. Where were you when it happened? When something just broke? For my mother, it was JFK's assassination, and she was sitting in 6th period, Mrs. Tomlinson's class. For my grandma, having lived through World War I and World War II, it was hearing on the car radio while on vacation in Wyoming that the U.S. was going to war again in Korea. For some people, it may have been on a rooftop during Hurricane Katrina, or when a heavily armed man shot up an elementary school. Pick your grade school, America doesn't care. Or maybe it was when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died and you could suddenly see the future. Or perhaps it was when your parents divorced. When was the moment for you that everything stopped, or nothing stopped, and something just broke? Something just left a little mark. Something just went a little dark. Something just went. The season of fall is a time that necessitates transition. The flowers change and bend and go back to their beds. Leaves begin to change color. Then a color forest arrives, and then as the leaves are more on the ground than they are up in the sky, we know what's on the horizon. And soon it's dark when we wake up and dark before dinner. The trees are bare, and we know they will be beautiful draped in snow, but there's no snow yet. It's just cold, naked trees and leaves underfoot. Transitions for humans, another intricate part of nature, are similar. A wedding, the purchase of a new house, having a baby, getting the job of your dreams, being nominated for Best of Under 30. But transition for humans is often based in moments of brokenness too. A friend's suicide, a spouse's infertility, a second cancer diagnosis. Or it could be a cataclysmic event, Pearl Harbor, Hiroshima, the Challenger explosion, 9/11, Newtown. International tragedies or personal tragedies, with eyes wide open, we realize things will never be the same. When was that moment for Jesus, I wonder? Was it the salesman's table at the temple capitalizing on the faith of an occupied people? Was it when they blocked the children from seeing him? Was it the coins jingling in Judas's pocket when he ran from the Seder meal? Or was it his kiss? When did you discover that something just broke, and what did you do next? Did you cry or nervous laugh? Did you blame God, blame yourself, blame the government? Give up drinking, take to drinking. Take out your anger on your kids, take out your desperation on your spouse. Did you pray, go to church, read the Bible, read Rumi, read Harry Potter and cry? Turn a blind eye? Say yes to everything. Retreat in silence. Run away? Stay to fight. Throw yourself into your job, a hobby, your kids, exercise. Did you watch Fox News and buy all the canned goods at Hy-Vee? Did you eat all the ice cream in your freezer? Did you stop eating? Did you shut down or pretend nothing was wrong? Ask for help, research therapists, call a lawyer, email a minister. Did you sleep? Did you lie awake? Did you enact revenge? Did you practice compassion? I don't mean to sound cliche, but Jesus went to the cross. That was his next move. He went to the cross, he went to the tomb, he came out on the other side. He woke up the disciples and reattached the ear of that poor soldier and eventually forgave Peter for not just the sword incident, but the rooster incident too. He lived, he died, and he lived again. And so can we. Perhaps that's why Paul, the author of Hebrews, says, "Take heart, my beloved children. You are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. They are here. Their stories are our stories. They are part of the great meta-narrative of God's story in the world. It begins with Adam, or Heidelberg man, or Lucy, or with whatever being first evolved and recognized God as her creator. From there, we get Abraham and Hagar and Sarah and Joseph and Tamar and Moses and Rahab and David and Jesus and Paul and St. Francis and Julian of Norwich and Martin Luther and Schleiermacher and Martin Luther King and John Paul II and Kyle and you and me. Our stories are all connected and they are all wrapped into the story of God. The story of God ushering in the kingdom through saints, through us. Truly, we are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. Do you believe they have passed their strength onto us? Because their stories are retold in our own. Their faith and unfaith have helped create the world we live in today. I thought you were dead, the baker says in a different musical by Stephen Sondheim titled Into the Woods. He says this to the mysterious man who he learns through the course of the musical is actually his father. I thought you were dead, the baker says. "Not entirely," his father replies. "Are we ever?" This usually humorous line plays at the redundancy of the mysterious man's character. "When first I appear, I seem delirious, mysterious. Many times the man responds to inquiries of his surprising appearance. He's always showing up at just the right time in the woods, guiding the characters, trying to lead but still hide, trying to right his wrongs. He's the father who died in a baking accident and left his son alone, and then died again after ending the curse on his son's house. And of course, in Act 2, the son learns that his father's not dead again. Are we ever? The mysterious man asks. For me, Into the Woods has always been about storytelling. More than once in a sermon, I've sung, "Careful the things you say, children will listen." In Into the Woods, the curtain opens to a man narrating the show and closes on a man passing that story along to his son. What we do and what we say and who we are makes a difference. Despite what the world tells us, we matter. We matter to each other. Even when we're gone, our legacy, who we are in God, is not insignificant. Rather, it may be the most important thing we do. Love one another so that we may share the love of God. Are we ever really dead? No, not with storytelling. Not with the memories of the moment. We never die. Not with the names called out on All Saints' Day and the tea lights lit and the great cloud of witnesses. Images pour from my heart into my mind of people I will never stop remembering. Indeed, the many people I myself have been in 44 years. Like a play reel across my mind, me's that I have laid to rest and surprisingly discovered were still alive. And the story goes on, whether we like the way it's being told or not. Between the moments and the mysteries and all the wolves, all the lies, the false hopes, the goodbyes, the reverses, it keeps going. And when you feel inadequate because you think no one likes you, or your job sucks, or your life feels meaningless, or you don't make enough money, or you're ruining your kid's life, look to the great cloud of witnesses who have helped you and loved you along the way, some of whom are gone, but most of whom are still here with you. You are not alone. And as I say that, I realize that is another iconic line from the musical. You are not alone. No one is alone. So vow to be that for someone else. Because you are a witness to someone else. You help their light shine by sharing just a bit of yours. Jesus says, "I have come that you might have life." And while saints bring food to the poor and benefactors bring money to the artists and Santa Claus brings presents to children, Jesus brings life. I mean, technically we're all living. We're breathing. Blood is coursing, hearts are pumping, brains are mostly functioning, depending on how much coffee you've had this morning. We're alive, but the way Jesus describes it, we may not be living, at least not abundantly. But how do you get to that point? How do you get to the point of choosing life when the world offers you death on a silver platter? And I mean, really, what is lust and greed and sexism and gluttony and adultery and homophobia and war and abuse and porn and anti-Semitism and drunkenness and gun worship and racism other than death? Death standing up or sitting down or maybe sitting outside the doors of a voting booth. These are the things that liars offer us and tell us will fill us up. End the emptiness, heal the pain, ease the burden, make us rich, make us happy, make us famous, make us alive. You're alive if you cry and can spot beauty and can really listen to others, Frederick Buechner writes. When you listen to others, you're able to sort the story out and make sure it keeps getting told. And so this All Saints' Day, we remember the saints and ultimately the sinners who have gone before us, who have helped light the path only to give thanks for the exotically great and the painfully normal. We give thanks for their souls. Find the quiet voices around you that say, I love you, love God, love your neighbor, love yourself. I am the way and the truth and the life. God forgive them. Male and female, they were created in the image of God. I have come that they might have life abundantly. These are the words of the great storyteller, the one who whispers life into our ears, into our hearts, breathing into our very being. And the story gets to go on. Whether we like the way it's being told or not, between the moments and the mysteries, it keeps going. Help us, God, when life is hard, when torrential rain washes away joy and floods sweep us away from safety. Remind us to remember the great cloud of witnesses who held the light high and loved us along the way. And God, give us courage. Give us courage to live our lives to the fullest so that we may be light for someone else. Curtain, blackout, house lights up. Amen.